Welcome, and thank you for joining me for another episode of the 2026 Vocabulary Series. Please have a look at videos by others in this series. They will be linked in the playlist, and their channels are linked in the description. Gundan were the local units that made up the imperial government's ritsuryō military forces in the 8th century. The word is made of two kanji, the first of which is pronounced gun in this instance. In the context for this video, it means something like army, military, troops, forces, and so on. And the second is dan, meaning group, company, corps, something along those lines. In English, these gundan have been called army groups, army corps, regiments. I sometimes call them provincial militias. Gundan were based on conscripted infantry. Cavalry units did exist, but they were made up from people who were already independently skilled in mounted archery, rather than conscripts trained to be mounted archers. The Taiho Code 701 and the Yoro Code 718 set the foundations of general conscription. The exact number conscripted and age ranges could vary, but typically 1 out of 3 or 4 men, somewhere between the ages of 20 and 60, were supposed to register with their local gundan to be put on the rosters for active duty. This was considered part of their obligation to the state. Generally, a gundan was supposed to comprise of 1,000 men, but this could vary with more or less men, and in practice, some provinces could have less soldiers than they were supposed to. Each province had at least one gundan, but how many gundan existed in a province depended on its size, population, and strategic importance. They were technically under the immediate authority of the provincial governor, but mobilizing more than a small number of men for military action required permission and/or orders from the imperial court. In the wording military action is included what could be considered policing activities nowadays, such as tracking down and arresting criminals. Gundan were not standing armies. They were more like a militia. They were required to serve a certain number of days per year of active duty. This was usually for training and guard duty. How many days a gundan was required to serve active duty would vary to some degree. The longest tours of active duty were on the northern and southern frontiers. These were where the closest thing to a standing army existed, and gundan were rotated, being garrisoned in fortresses along the frontiers. In addition to the regular active duty, they were supposed to be ready to be called up when necessary for military action. Almost from its inception, the system did not operate as it was supposed to and faced numerous issues. In 739, the court ended conscription and disbanded the gundan in provinces other than those along the northern and southern frontiers, and those considered to be important to the protection of the capital. The attempt to create a public imperial military ended in 792, when the last vestiges of the gundan system and conscription were abandoned along what had been the frontiers, as those areas had become more secure and submitted to imperial court in the north, and the feared invasion from the continent never came in the south. After the 739 ending of conscription in much of the country, the military system shifted to court nobles, provincial governors, and district officials through local private militias, private military retainers, and armed and militarized local elites, and the private forces of the last two groups. Thank you so much for watching. I appreciate you giving me your time. I hope that you got something out of it. And a special thank you to my subscribers and to my Patreon member, Coulter Nebel. Until next time, お疲れ様でした。